Today we're going to talk about subject-verb agreement. Now you need to be filling out the notes as you watch this PowerPoint. Okay, so the first thing to remember is that every verb must agree with its subject. This means if you have a singular subject, you need a singular verb. And if you have a plural subject, you take a plural verb. Now, English grammar doesn't always make a lot of sense. When we have nouns, we make the plural by adding the S. So girl becomes girls. To make a verb plural, we take away the S. So the singular he talks becomes the plural they talk. Okay, so watch your verb endings. I walk, you walk, he, she, it walks. We walk, you walk, they walk, Joe and Maria walk, the girls walk. Now notice that it doesn't always work to take away the S. When you use I, you don't have S on the end of walk, even though I is singular and walk is supposed to be singular. You also always takes the plural. Okay, also remember irregular verbs. In the singular, he does, she has, he is, she was, those are all singular. However, when you form the plural, you just change the spelling basically. So it becomes they do, they have, they are, they were. Remember that irregular verbs do that to form their tenses. They tend to change the spelling of the word. Okay, some things to remember. Generally, if the subject doesn't end in S, the verb will. If the subject does end in S, the verb won't. So we have the girl dances. No S on the subject, which means we have an S on the verb. In this one, the girls dance. Girls is plural. It ends with an S. So there is no S on dance. Now, compound subjects. This means you have more than one subject joined by and. Now the way this works, if there are two or more subjects joined by and, the subject is usually plural, so the verb will not get an S. The boy and the girl dance. They dance. And notice we can, if it is a plural subject, we can usually substitute the word they for it. So, they dance, plural, no S on the dance. Now, it's a little bit different if you have a compound subject joined by or. If there are two or more subjects joined by or, the verb agrees with the part of the subject closer to it. Example, the professor or the students walk the halls. In this sentence, notice that students is literally closer to the verb walk. And so, since there's an S here, there's not one here. If we switch it around and say, the students or the professor walks the halls, now notice that professor is literally closer to the word walks, and so it gets to decide that this is going to be plural. There's no S on this, so there is one on this. Okay, watch out for the word everybody. Remember, even though it sounds like it's plural, it's actually singular. So everybody loves grammar. Everybody understands subject-verb agreement. Some other possible pitfalls. Sometimes you will have several words come between the subject and the verb. For example, the student, though she had lots of problems in other schools, is it finds or find her new class easy? Well, if we find the actual subject, it is student. The student finds her new class easy. Though she had lots of problems in other schools, that is a subordinate clause that cannot stand on its own. It's giving us more information about student, and it's not the subject. So student finds is the actual subject and verb. Student is singular, so we need finds to be singular. All right, in your notes right now, please put an S over the subject and a V over the verb for each of these sentences. Prepositional phrases. Now remember, a preposition is a word that joins with a noun or a pronoun to form a phrase that tells us more about another word in the sentence. And a prepositional phrase can never be the subject of your sentence. So that means the subject cannot be part of the prepositional phrase. Example, the students in my class either study or studies hard. Now, even though you have in my class right in front of the verb, it is a prepositional phrase. It has this preposition right here, in. So class is the object of the preposition in and cannot be the subject of this verb. So what is the subject? The subject is students. So you would say the students study hard. Other problems. Sometimes the subject will come after the verb when you have questions or when the sentence begins with there. Here are some examples. Why is he falling asleep? Please notice that he is the subject, and you would say he is. Why are they falling asleep? They is the subject. They are. There is no excuse for such behavior. There is not the subject of your sentence. Excuse is your actual subject. So we would say, no excuse is. And here, no excuses. Excuse is your actual subject, so excuses are. All right, in your notes here, please go ahead and put an S over each subject so you remember what it is. Other problems. Relative pronouns include who, which, and that. And they can be either singular or plural depending on the word they refer to. So, if you have the student who works hard will succeed, in this case, while who is the subject or the verb works, it's referring back to student. And since student is singular, this is going to be singular, or it's going to take an S. And the students who work hard will succeed, who is now referring to students, which is plural, which means now we need the plural verb work. And remember, we make nouns plural by adding an S. We make verbs plural by taking it away. Okay, so how are you going to get this right? Well, first, find your verb. It's usually an action or some form of the verb to be, such as am, is, are, was, or were. Then ask yourself who or what is doing what that verb says. This is your subject. Now put the two together. Say the subject and the verb together. How does it sound? Now here's a really important hint. If you find your subject and your verb and you put them together and both of them end in S, you probably have a problem with agreement. Now, the only time that's not going to be true is if you have is or was or has. Those are singular and will take singular subjects. But pretty much every other verb, every regular verb at least, is going to end in S when it is singular and have no S when it's plural. And most of our nouns end in S when they are plural, but have no S when they are singular. Okay, remember, the subject and the verb are the skeleton of every sentence, and you want to make sure that you put the two of them together correctly.